This video is brought to you by Skillshare.
This is the 50K Q&A. Thank you so much for making me reach this. Thank you so much for making me reach this point. And let's get started with the Q&A. And by the way, I just wanted to say thank you, gracias to all of you, because reaching 50K is no small feat, and it wouldn't have happened if you hadn't pressed the subscribe button. So thank you so much for pressing that subscribe button. And if you haven't subscribed, subscribe. Okay, so let's start with the Q&A. So the first question is, what was the best and the most frustrating moment of your USMLE journey? The best moment of the USMLE journey, I would say, were I think were the rotations, because I got to experience how the US medical system works, and then I got to make friends. We went out and enjoyed and had a really good time. So I guess rotations were those memorable things that were the best part of the USMLE journey. The most frustrating moment of your USMLE journey, I would say this was the interview period. And the funny thing is, people would think it's like getting good scores. That's the most frustrating part, is when you're studying for the exams. Not really, because at least your scores are objective, and you can you have a lot of control on how much you score. But when you look at the interviews, these events are so subjective, and even if you're prepared your best, the interview might not go well, and that is what decides whether you get in or not the scores. So that was the most frustrating thing, is I had no absolute control of the interview process, and it was very subjective. It was all upon the interviewer if they liked my personality or not. So that was scary, because I've never faced a lot of these situations when I'm not in control. And yeah, that was scary, because you work so hard, and when you're interviewing, or you might not match if the interviews don't go well, which is the most scariest part and the most frustrating part of the USMLE journey. Rakshita's asked, which institute did you get into? I got into psychiatry at Penn State Milton as Hershey's Center, which is located in Hershey, and it comes under the umbrella of Penn State College of Medicine. I'm very lucky to get in there. It was my top choice. So what is the pay scale for first year resident? Well, it varies state by state. So in states like New York, the stipend is really high, right, compared to where I'm going, Pennsylvania, where the stipend is a bit lower compared to New York, because Pennsylvania is less expensive. So I'll be getting about $63,000 in my first year for my residency. In New York, you can expect about $70,000 per year, but the national average is about $64,000 across all the years and across all the states. So that's what you can expect, $64,000 on an average. The next question is, how, when, and why did you decide to start a YouTube channel? Well, this is a really great one. I remember when the COVID pandemic hit. So what had happened was, I had just given my step one, and the plan for me was to really go to Goa with my friends and really enjoy. So just go on vacation and enjoy. But because of COVID, everything shut down, all travel was down, because of which I was locked in my home, and I was I have nothing more to do. And that's when I was oh, I can make a video on how I scored a 260 on the USMLE step one and maybe help out other people with my journey. And that's when it started. I just took out my iPad and made these slides on how to score really high on the step one, what my journey was like. And then I just took about 1 hour and shot that video non-stop. It trust me, it has no editing. So just shot that for 1 hour and just posted it online with a good thumbnail. And then somehow it blew up. I did share it in a few Facebook communities, and just so that people can have a look. And I was lucky that that video blew up, and now it has 100K plus views. So that's amazing. Yeah, that's when I started my YouTube journey. But I've always been wanted to be a YouTuber. Before I joined medical school, I shot 2 videos about technology, but they didn't really get a lot of traction. So I really shut the channel down, and I was maybe YouTube's not my thing. But sometimes synchronies happen, and I guess this all was so much based on luck, that the pandemic happened, that the lockdown happened, and that lockdown pushed me to really focus on YouTube and build great videos. And I think that's yeah, I know, that's luck. So someone has asked, how do you decide upon your niche? Advice for someone who wants to start YouTube too. So the way you want to think about a niche is so whenever you're starting YouTube, you want to focus on a community that can relate to you. So that can get you traction, because people like to watch people they can relate to, right? So the niche really should be the starting niche should be really about something related to you. For example, I was a medical student who had written my USMLE step one, so my niche became the USMLE and medical school, right? And then I branched out and started vlogging my journey. And after that, I started talking about other things on how to maybe go to how to go to the UK to become a doctor, how to do PLAB. So I think, yeah, so you start from one niche, really like ask yourself, what is that one thing that you really like to talk about, like, and that is related to your life. For me, that was USMLE medical school life, and careers in medicine. So really like ask yourself that and start focusing just on that. And once that grows, your channel starts growing, you can start thinking about generalizing and moving a bit away from your niche, and see if like moving away from your niche gets you traction. And if that gets you traction, keep on like expanding the horizon, and keep on expanding like the content, the category of the content you make like videos about. But just first start with one thing that you think might be interesting, and maybe remix it with your personality. I think that's an interesting way to put it. So somebody's asked, what gave you an assurance that you'll be matched? Well, like, thing about the USMLE is there is no real guarantee that whether you'll get into residency or not. Even American graduates sometimes fail to get into residency, so it's quite scary. And there's no assurance really. But I was just like, I want to try the USMLE, and I want to try because I really wanted to become a doctor in the US. And if I didn't, like, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take, right? So I think I had to take that shot, otherwise I wouldn't have forgiven myself, because I would always be like, okay, let's say I became a doctor in India after taking, so I had cleared NEET PG, and I could get into like a good institute here, Central Institute in Psychiatry. But I gave that up because I just like didn't wanna when I grow up like 10 to 20 years from then, I didn't want to feel bad that I could have done USMLE but I did not. So I'm young, I can take risks, so I took that risk. There was no assurance, but it was fun. The USMLE journey itself was fun, and finally I made it, so as luck would have it. Somebody's asked, when will you marry? Well, my answer to that is I really can't decide, because I'm just so young, and I want to just leave it upon life. If the right person finds me or I find them. So I just don't know when I'll marry exactly. It's just upon life and luck and synchronies. So yep, there's no tentative date when I should get married. It could be any time, any day, even 10 years from now. So I don't know. What are you most excited to do when you move to the US? Well, like, the first thing I want to do is really go to like my program and begin my residency training, because I've heard great things about the US medical system, and I think I would really enjoy it, and I would just want to work in a team with those people. I also want to explore their cafeteria, because one of the best parts about training in US hospitals is you get great food, right? And I think yeah, we have a great canteen at Penn State, and I think that's one of the things. I just want to take my co-residents on a lunch like in that canteen and just eat good food and enjoy my life. So somebody's asked, relationship status lol. I would say it's complicated. Okay, I'm just kidding. It's not that it's complicated. It's just like right now I'm not so comfortable disclosing like my relationships, and as we grow, like I think I'll get more comfortable and be okay with being more vulnerable regarding my relationships. So yeah, not now. So when you told your family that you want to go to USA, what was their reaction and what they really wanted? So the first thing you want to know is I come from a family of physicians. Both of my parents are doctors. So like I remember, like, I've seen them practice medicine in India, and like I've already seen that. So I remember, like, even before I joined medical school, I was pretty sure that I wanted to go to the United States, and I told my parents, like, I just want to go to the US to practice medicine, like even before I joined my medical college, I think in high school, and they were very okay with that fact. Like I was surprised they took it like so lightly, and they didn't ever stop me from following my US dreams, and actually they encouraged me on each and every step during and after medical school to go to the US, because I think they understand the value of a US residency training, because they have friends who are in the US practicing medicine. So they were really, I think, supportive, and they were very happy when I matched. So yeah, they were very supportive. So somebody has asked, how do you feel now that you matched? Well, like, now that I've matched, all I would say is it's a very big relief, because like, just if you go 2 years from now and look at that journey of mine, it was just so many things happening at once that, like, thinking about the USMLE steps, thinking about research, thinking about publications, thinking about electives, thinking about applying, personal statement, LORs, and the interview process. So many things were happening at once, I guess, like, and simultaneously, that it was like a lot for me to handle that, because in India, like, I feel we are more trained to focus on one thing at a time and not multiple things at a time, while in the US you are trained to focus on multiple things at a time. So that was hard, managing multiple things together, because I'm a person who goes all out into just one thing that I'm doing, and now that there's so many things happening simultaneously, it's just hard for me to manage those things at once, right? Because I just tend to focus on one thing. So that was probably, yeah, the hardest part, I guess. So now that I've matched, it's just a relief that I finally have a spot in the US, and all that money that I spent on the whole USMLE journey finally bore fruit. That like, and I don't have to really worry because now I'll just get American board certified after about 4 years and be able to practice about like in so many parts of the world with that degree. So I'm just happy that I would be able to serve humanity. Yeah, so it's a big relief. Somebody's asked, is it possible to match without research and publications? Yes, it is possible to match without research and publications if you look at the really IMG friendly specialties such as medicine, such as peds and family medicine and neurology, even sometimes psychiatry. Even if you don't have research, it is okay and you can apply. But again, having research is just a good thing for your CV, and like it's another egg in your basket, and it just makes you more attractive in the match to different people and to different programs. So I would really advocate for research and you learn it. And secondly, there's another thing to the research that people don't understand, that when you're going to practice medicine in the future, right, advancements will be happening in your field. And to understand and to learn those advancements, you need to know research, to read papers, because without knowing research, the different kinds of research like cross-section, like observation studies versus intervention studies, if you don't know the basic differences or the basic terminologies in research, how are you going to read up on all the advancements, and how are you going to become a better doctor without knowing research? So I would really advocate you like learn how to do research and try it out yourself by first publishing a case study. You can just Google how to publish a case study and you'll find a good case and like make a case report out of that, and then try to publish it. So just going through that process will make you learn so many things. Then you can move on from the case report to maybe case series, and then cross-sectional studies to cohort studies, and then to case control studies, and then in the end trials, right, randomized control trials. So you can move up a ladder and just start with the easiest things like case reports. Just Google how to write a case report, and I think that's how you should start. So somebody's asked chances of matching residency for the people who failed step 1 once, right? So if you have an attempt, so what she means is having an attempt on your USMLE step 1, what are the chances of matching with that? I guess like what I would say is it is not impossible, because there just has been so many cases. I know somebody who matched into anesthesiology with an attempt, and this person was a non-US IMG, so visa requiring, and everybody told him to give up when he had an attempt on his step 1, but this person did not give up, and he put in a lot of hard work to make up for that attempt. But again, attempts make it really hard for you to match, because what an attempt means is if you have an attempt in any of your steps, that just makes the program or the institution really worried if you will be able to pass the boards, like when you appear for them during residency training, and like after you become like certified, even then you have to write the boards after about 5 years, like every single 5 years. So right, that's why programs worry when you have an attempt. But still, like, try hard. It's gonna get really hard if you have an attempt, but still it is possible, right? It's up to you if you want to give up on the journey because you just are not that dedicated, or you just don't feel that you want to put in that kind of effort. But you have to really make up for it via research, via like working, getting more USCE, networking. So you just have to make up for it, and that requires a lot of hard work. So it's up to you if you want to take up that kind of hard work on yourself, that kind of work on yourself. So yeah, I would not put a number to it really, because I don't know. Yeah, but still it is possible even if you have an attempt. This video is sponsored by Skillshare.
Skillshare is an online learning community with thousands of inspiring classes for anyone who loves learning and wants to explore their creativity and learning new skills. The topics range from productivity to illustration to photography to video editing to photo editing. It not only gathers like experts from every field to teach, but also facilitates your learning by having no ads, projects to test your skills. New classes are being added every week, with the entire catalog now available with subtitles in Spanish, French, Portuguese, and German. I myself recently took a class called Make Great YouTube Thumbnails by Ivan Polymatter. Ivan takes us through the whole process of crafting attractive and intriguing thumbnails. After teaching us basic and advanced design, Ivan takes us through his entire workflow on his thumbnail design process. My YouTube channel draws a lot of inspiration from this class. As you can see, I went from this before to this right now. The new thumbnails that I craft are far more clickable and elegant, which has helped my channel grow way faster. If you want to watch courses like this and thousands of more classes like this, you can do so for free for the first month, risk free.
The first 1,000 people to use the link below or my code Manik Madaan will get a free 1 month trial of Skillshare. Thank you to Skillshare for sponsoring this video. So name a failure loss you didn't expect coming but changed you significantly as a person. So what I would say is like a failure that I had was like I made this video about how to make money, and a lot of people I think did not like that video, and there was a lot of criticism regarding that, and like that literally gave me PTSD because I did not know that I myself, like as a creator, had haters and trolls, and that like in my image I was like everybody likes me, but then I was like, oh, like about 1 to 2% people just don't like me and think, you know, and this like say a lot of mean stuff about me, and I did not take lightly to that, and it hurt me a lot. But I think after about 7 months I've learned to forgive those people and learn to move on. And I think another thing that I learned from that is not judge people anymore by what other people say about them, because I myself have been judged, because as a creator anything you do, anything you say can be judged and criticized just because so many people are watching you and they have different views. And just because one person does not like you or says mean stuff about you does not mean you're a bad person, right? But I have judged people based on other people's views of them. So like I could see the irony in this, and I learned not to judge people from that and become non-judgmental, because I've been judged so much. So I think that's what I learned, just to not judge people by just what other people say of them, and to forgive people. I think he's asking, starting a YouTube channel is a big deal. How did you get motivated? Well, like I've always, like I know it's a big deal, but what I would say is I've always wanted to share myself with people, and here's what I would say, right? 1% of the world will love you for who you are. Remember that 1% of the world will love you for who you are, no matter what flaws you have, what red flags you have. And 1% of billions of people is millions and millions of people. So when you put yourself out on YouTube and social media platforms, you get to meet your tribe, you get to meet the people who will love you for who you are. No matter if you're weird, you'll get your weird tribe, and like with whom you can share your weirdness and they won't judge you. And I think that's what motivated me to start my YouTube channel, because I wanted to find my tribe, and I finally found you if you're watching this. And I'm just so happy that I can be weird with you, I can be myself with you, and I can be authentic with you, and you can be the same with me. I just want to share stuff with you and like hear from you in the comments, and if I can help you in any way, I just want to help you. And I think that's what motivated me to start my YouTube channel, is just to find my tribe, I guess. So somebody's asked your hobbies. So your hobbies added to the list while USMLE Journey, right? So the hobbies that I added were, the first one was videography. So I've always been into videography, on how to shoot videos, lighting setups, how to get good audio, and like learning about how to make a good studio, and how to like, you know, so videography has always been a passion of mine, and I'm learning that. Still right now I'm so new to this. I've taken a few courses on Skillshare, a platform where I teach, and I think those classes have helped me a lot. I've always been like, I also follow Peter McKinnon, who is really good and knows a lot about videography, and he's a pro at it. So I try to learn from other people like Ali Abdal, Peter McKinnon, and try to improve my videography skills. So that's something. Secondly is a hobby that is reading. So I'm really into reading non-fiction self-help books, because I just feel that like whenever I read a book, I get to get a new viewpoint about life. And as I read more and more self-help books, I just get so many new viewpoints from people who are billionaires, from people who are so successful at life, and that helps me move to a new paradigm of seeing the world in a very different way. And I think the more choices you have, the more in control you get about your situation, because you get to choose how, like, you know, it's not about what happens to you. Life is not about what happens to you. Life is about what you do when something happens to you, right? I think that's what 90% of life is about. So 10% is what happens to you, 90% is how you react. And so self-help and reading all these books about improving myself just helps me react better to anything bad or good that happens to me. And I think that helps me get more in control and to be better at life. So self-help is a big thing that I'm into, and just learning about you know, how to be a better public speaker, how to meditate better, how to connect with people better, social skills training, I guess, and improving myself in every single field, be it spirituality, mindfulness, be it you know, how to inspire people. So I just like want to learn as much as I can, either through books or courses that I take. And if you follow me on Instagram, I share a lot of these things, like I take courses on Mind Valley, which is an app where they make self-help courses. I think that's something I like. There's another thing called masterclass.com, and they share a lot of self-help courses, and I've learned a lot from them. And I just want to improve in different fields of my life so that I can integrate them better and come up with new solutions to things. Yeah, that's I think something about my hobbies list. And the third thing I would say is I'm really into meditation, because I feel meditation helps me cleanse my mind. So like there's this thing where, like, you know, we talk about cleansing our body every day by taking a bath, but why aren't we cleansing our mind, which is full with fluff, like, you know, things that go wrong in life, and there's just so many thoughts going on. So I love to clean them out. I love to give myself a mind cleanse so that I can focus and give 100% of my brain energy to whatever I'm doing right now, and I'm not distracted by the thoughts in my mind. And I think mindfulness and meditation, I'm just researching into, okay, how to achieve the alpha state, the theta state, the delta states. These are states, brainwave states, and if you achieve a different state, that just like allows you to look at things in a very different way, right? I think that's yeah, so mindfulness is something I'm getting used to. So how did you cope up with the mental stress during this journey? I would say the first thing was, again, meditation and mindfulness. It helped me turn off my stress response or the fight or flight system. And I think the more you do it, the better it works. It's just like a vitamin thing, where like, and not an aspirin thing. It just takes time to show its effects, because that's how vitamins work. They work over a long time rather than a short time, like aspirin for pain relief. So I think meditation was one thing. Second was exercise. So I do this thing called high intensity interval training, or Tabata, and just takes me 10 to 20 minutes every single day, and not a lot of time. So I used to do high intensity interval training. And what happens with exercise is, so just think about it, when our ancestors got their fight or flight system activated, or the stress response activated, like in the tribal times, they used to run it out. For example, if a lion is chasing them or a snake is chasing them, they're going to run, right? They're going to exercise because of that running. But if you look at our current situation, minor things trigger the stress response or the fight or flight response. Like, you know, if an assignment didn't go well, if you didn't score a lot, like if you didn't score the way you wanted to, or like you didn't reach the place where you wanted to, or the things are not going your way. So all of these things activate the fight or flight system, or basically cortisol and adrenaline, right? And we, as like currently right now, we are not exercising a lot. We're just sitting all the time, and we are always stagnant and not moving, and because of that we are not metabolizing all the cortisol, adrenaline, all the stress response hormones, right? And because of that, these things build up over time and cause obesity, right? Heart attacks, hyperglycemia, like diabetes, right? And that's not good for you. So exercise helps you clear out all these stress hormones, because when you exercise, you just metabolize your adrenaline, your cortisol, and they get used up for the purposes they were made to, right? To like make you like fight, or like to make you fly, right? Fight or flight. So using them up for the purpose why exercise helps you clear that out. I think thirdly, what I would say is good resilience. A good resilience support I developed was friendships. So like when I was going for my rotations, I made a lot of friends, and these friends stayed with me like till the match, right? Like they're still even with me, but like we always had, like every single day we used to talk for about half an hour or like about 1 hour. And consistently, like all four of us on a group, and we used to share like what was going on, if anything was on our mind, and like we each other supported, like every single one, no matter what happened, no matter what like stress we had, and we tried to encourage each other, and we were like, you know, no matter what happens, I'll be there with you. And I think that support system took me, like, you know, was the only thing that was one of the most important things that made me like survive throughout the journey. Or I don't know, because it was very stressful. My parents were also very supportive. I remember my parents were like, kuch nahi hota, it doesn't matter if you don't match, you know, you will be fine, right? You already have your doctor's degree, you can practice in India, don't worry, kuch nahi hota. Like, you know, enjoy your life, because life only happens once, you just get to live it once, so don't worry about these things, enjoy whatever is happening. So the support from my parents, from my friends, was something that carried me through, I think. So this is what helped me cope up with all the mental stress. So ever doubted yourself throughout the medical school or even during your USMLE journey? So many times you wouldn't believe it. I was like, one time I wanted to quit medicine and medical school because I just thought I wasn't made for it, because it was just so stressful. There were so many books to read, so many videos to watch, and I was like, this is a never ending learning journey, and I don't know if I can go along. So, but like my parents were like, you know, take your time. So I took about, I think, 3 months off, did not study anything, and I realized I really like medicine, and I think I was gonna quit but those 3 months of relaxing myself, I think, made me miss medicine, created this fear of missing out, and then I went back to medicine. I think that 3 months of relaxation period saved me. Secondly, even during USMLE journey, I was like, I want to quit because this is just so stressful and I don't know why I did it. I was like, to even so many people, don't do the USMLE, it's just so hard, and so stressful and so unpredictable. You don't know what happens, right? Even with the best scores, you might not still match. So that was scary. And I was like, okay, if this does not work out, this plab, I can always do plab. And I've thought about quitting so many times, but I was like, still, I want to see this till the end, and I just want to take this risk. If I get matched into the US, that's awesome. If I don't, it's awesome also. I can do plab, I can go back to India, do NEET. So I've thought about quitting a lot of the time. So why did you choose psychiatry, considered it is not much talked about in India? So I chose psychiatry because it is one of those fields, because I feel like the mind is so metaphysical, right? You cannot touch the mind. The thoughts that the mind produces, the emotions the mind produces, these are very abstract and they are not tangible, unlike other fields of medicine where you can do percussion, auscultation, do a physical exam, and that would bring up something like ideology. You can do scans, but in psychiatry there are no scans. Right, number one. Number two, you cannot touch the thoughts, you cannot auscultate the thoughts or the emotions, right? So you're working with something that's very complex, that is the mind, which is metaphysical, and I think that is very, very intellectually stimulating to me. And I would do psychiatry even if I weren't getting paid for it, because I just find it ignites my curiosity, right? And the current advancements that are happening in psychiatry, such as using Google Glass to treat autism spectrum disorder, or the brain research project which you can search up, which is all about using PETs and MRIs to look for certain disorders like schizophrenia, and the treatments that are coming up for schizophrenia and depression are just mind-blowing. And I think I want to be a part of that revolution. And a lot of PDs, when I went to the interview, and they were like, psychiatry will change in the next 10 years because we'll move away from diagnosing disorders from the symptoms to the neurophysiology of disorders, because the technology is just getting better and better. And there are things like computational psychiatry coming up, so the field will change completely in the next 10 years. So that's just a few points. I think another point I can add to this is, if you look at how the COVID-19 affected the world, my prediction is, I feel like it created a way worse psychiatric pandemic, disorders like depression, anxiety, than just the effect of the COVID medically. And I think you can even see it, look at your friend circle, look at your parents, look at everybody around you. I can bet at least one of them has suffered from a psychiatric disorder at least once in their lifetime, right? Even if you don't know about it, even by if you look at the statistical data, 1 in 4 Americans suffer from depression at least once in their lifetime, and I'm talking major depression. And there's just so much of a need for psychiatrists right now, because the world, our consciousness has not evolved to deal with such a complex world where there's so much stimulation via social media, there's so much stimulation via gaming, there's so much just so much stimulation that our consciousness just cannot take it. So I think we need to build better support systems for our consciousness to adapt better to this complex world. And I think that's why psychiatry is the branch for me, because I want to be a part of that movement where we can help our consciousness adapt to this world, I think. That's why psychiatry is just very curiosity stimulating and intellectually stimulating for. So somebody's asked, are you interested in becoming the mentor seeing your inspiring journey? What I would say is, this YouTube channel is a way of me trying to mentor you and trying to impact the lives of thousands, if not millions, of medical students. And every single video is very much about mentorship and trying to give you whatever knowledge or I have, or if there's something new that I've learned, so that you can learn that along with me. What I think is, you can either do great things alone, or you can do great things through other people. So I think if mentoring somebody, if I can mentor somebody really well, they might go on to do great things themselves, and I would have some part in it, and that just makes me happy. And I think and another thing, we have also started a Discord, so you can join it. It's called the USMLE Verse, and it's all about free mentoring from people who are in Harvard, Duke University, who are doing research there, and current residents in different fields such as internal medicine, psychiatry, anesthesiology, neurology, and it's all free. So you can just join the USMLE Verse Discord, and it has tons of networking opportunities, USC opportunities, and it gets updated all the time. So do you have any prior connections in the US? I actually do not have any connections in the US, and not even one of my interviews was through a connection, because I just don't have any right now. But yeah, I have no connection. So how you balanced your studies, social life, and social media? So the thing is, I am not a good balancer, even though I consider myself a multitasker. If you read my LinkedIn, even though I consider myself a serial multitasker if you read my LinkedIn, but I have not been able to balance them, and trust me, it's a struggle because there's just so many people messaging you hoping that you can become their mentor, and you have to answer their questions, and then you have to study along with that, you have to manage Instagram and YouTube along with that. It's just hard, and I'm not good at balancing, and I burn out a lot. And like, this is why right now I'm on a trip with my friend Ashir, and we are exploring Bangalore right now, so I'm taking a break, but I am not a good balancer. You should not ask me. But what I would say is, I use this thing called environmental design, which is all about using your environment to your advantage than your willpower. For example, what I do is I have this thing called the app blocker on my app blocker on my phone. So I'll show it to you. So this is the app blocker, and all my social media is blocked till 11 p.m. So I cannot use any social media, so that does not distract me. And it only gets unlocked after 11 p.m. till 12 p.m. So I can use it only for 1 hour every day, and that's what I try to keep to. And I think that's helped me manage my life and be more focused at life than social media, which is very virtual. So I think that's a good tip if you want to adapt it, is get something called as this app blocker and use it to block, and not use your willpower, because you will mostly fail if you use your willpower to resist social media or other dopamine spiking apps. So how to get research experience in the US? So there are multiple ways to get the research experience in the US. The first thing is, if you know somebody who's doing their research in the US in the field that you want to go into, message them and ask them if there's any position that's free with them, and if they can connect to you to a professor or a mentor of theirs. And sometimes that's possible, and that's probably the easiest way to get a research opportunity. The other way to go about is to really think about a specialty you want to go in, and then go to the top institutions, like their websites, like the Mayo Clinic. Look for the current research that's going on, because they always post about it, and look who's doing that research. And you can maybe email these professors, because they'll always put their email below, right? And you can email them and send them your portfolio, your CV, how much you know about research, and tell them that you're interested in their research, and tell them how you can help them. And it's hard to get these though, because a lot of the times these professors do not apply, but 4 in 100 people might reply, and you might get, out of those 4 people, you might get that one opportunity. So there is that 1 in 100% chance, right? So there is that 1 in 100 chance, that is 1%. But I guess if you really want the research opportunity, you should try that way. There's also this thing called this website called Inside the Match, and it is run by residents from University of Washington and a lot of other universities. And what they post is a lot of research and volunteer opportunities that you can take advantage of. And you can just follow them on Twitter and Instagram, and they keep posting every single day. And I think that was very useful. So, and you'll get to know about the research opportunities that are currently there, I think. So that's how I would go about finding these. So is medical residency in US hectic? So it really depends. If you're in a place like New York, which is just so diverse and has so many people in it, and it's just jam packed with people, it is going to be hectic, because you're gonna have to just work with a lot of patients, and there's just you have to serve a lot of people, so it can get hectic. And but residency laws still are they prevent you from working more than 70 hours. So there are these labor laws that protect you. So I think in the US, the first year is very hectic, and as you move on to further years, the second year, third year, and fourth year, it becomes less hectic, because you just become more senior and you can take on academic responsibilities, become a chief resident. So in the first year it is hectic, but after that it just gets chiller, I would say. And secondly, it's less hectic in places like Pennsylvania, or places that are far away from big cities, because there's just less amount of people that you have to serve. So there you get to work less than 70 hours, about 60 hours sometimes. So it just is chiller outside New York. But yeah, in New York then you get exposed to a lot of patients, which is really good for you too. So yeah, so and I think a good response I got to this question was from my friend's dad, who's a cardiologist, and he said that the more hectic your residency is, the more you get to learn, and the more you learn, the better doctor you will become. And when are you gonna learn the most? In residency. So it being hectic is not a bad thing, I guess. But then there's this other side of burnout and mental depression, mental health. So I think a good balance between the two is really important, taking care of your burnout, you don't burn out, and having good mental health is really important at the same time, and making sure you work as hard as you can, but still not that hard that you burn out, or have that affects your mental health. That's I think a good recipe to follow. So type of Netflix or streaming series that you enjoy. So I am not a big Netflix user or Amazon Prime user, because I just feel that they feed up on your time, and I could be doing other things that can make me grow. So there is this difference between passively just being a passive observer in time versus giving active energy or maybe psychic energy to really improve yourself. And anything like that causes you to improve requires active investment. And I think that's why I don't watch a lot of Netflix or Amazon Prime, because I don't think they improve me. I would rather like watch a platform like Mind Valley, which has a lot of self-help courses, and I find self-help really interesting. And there have been times when I'm just having dinner and watching a documentary. So I think I could watch Netflix if it's a documentary. Anything that just improves me is something that I stream and love to watch. So what I would recommend is Mind Valley, number one. Number two, there's another site called Gaia, which has a lot of courses about meditation, spirituality, and the science of self-improvement exercise. I think that's really interesting. Masterclasses.com is another great one. So just, I think, try to watch things that improve you as a person, because trust me, the investment that you give to these things compounds over time. It's not like if you're improving 1% every single day, that is marginal improvement. You will not be 365% better by the end of the year. You will be like 37,800 times better, because that 1% improvement every single day compounds to you being 37,800 times better by the end of the year. And imagine this investment compounding over 10 years, a decade, or 20 years. Just think about that. So I just want to become the best version of myself, and anything that improves me is what I like to watch. So where do you see yourself 5 years from now? So I see myself like completing my residency, which is something I hope I do, I don't fail, and maybe do a fellowship either in consult liaison psychiatry or child and adolescent psychiatry. So what child and adolescent psychiatry is related to kids and working with autism spectrum disorder, obsessive compulsive disorder, and a lot of other disorders that happen to children. The consult liaison psychiatry is a mixture of working with patients who have medically induced psychiatric disorders such as delirium. So whenever you get a UTI, you can get delirium. Whenever you get any infection in the body, you can get delirium, right? Which is hazing of the consciousness, right? Disorientation to time, place, person. Yeah. So I like consult liaison psychiatry because it's the interface of psychiatry and medicine, and child and adolescent psychiatry, so I have to choose between them. So I'm not really sure, but at the end of the 5 years, I just see myself doing a fellowship and specializing in psychiatry, and after that working as a professor at any good institute that I really like. And I think that's where I see myself, like I see myself teaching, and I see myself like running this YouTube channel and really trying to inspire people with residency blogs and blogs as a fellow and as an attending. So like try to get in touch with you guys through my blogs, and that's it. So when did you decide that you wanted psychiatry? So this, like, you'll be surprised by this, and so were my interviewers. I was actually into psychiatry way before I joined medical school because I was exposed to it. So my younger brother had ADHD when he was a kid, and I have a cousin who has schizophrenia, a friend who has bipolar, and I've seen so much suffering coming out of psychiatric disorders. And my parents were doctors, so I was like, and I was also interested in psychology at the same time, like self-help and how to become a better, like the first book that I read was How to Make Friends and Influence People, which was by Dale Carnegie, and was an interesting read based on how like a shift in your psychology can affect your relationships positively. And I think I wanted to combine, I loved medicine, I just wanted to combine that with psychology in some way, and what was the best option other than psychiatry. And I think that's what made me want to go into psychiatry from the starting, and I was pretty onto it from the first, even from the first day of my medical school. And when anybody asked me like, what do you want to become, I was like, a psychiatrist. And then they were like, what's wrong with you? And I'm like, I don't know, like I just want to become a psychiatrist. So I've faced a lot of resistance since I come from India, and psychiatry is not a well-developed branch here, and there's just so much taboo regarding mental health here. Right, and there's so much stigma. So, but I've always loved psychiatry, even before joining medical school. Why you chose the US? So this is very interesting. So the reason I want to choose, like I wanted to go with the US is, first of all, my parents are doctors, so I've already seen them practicing medicine in India, and I know how medicine works in India. But I've never gone to the US, or properly experienced how medicine is practiced in the US, and it's a totally different world. There's EMRs, there's insurance-based policies, there's just different healthcare systems here. And probably patient care is better in some ways compared to India. So I wanted to experience that. I wanted to live that life, because you get to live life only once. So I wanted to just experience that. Secondly, it was all about experience the diversity in the US, because it's just like if you go to New York, there are so many people from different backgrounds, like different ethnicities that you get to meet there, and there's just so much diversity. And like what happens with diversity is diversity tends to change how medical disorders present. For example, depression in Asian communities or non-white population presents as, like, a lot of the times as somatic symptoms because people just come late, right? And the presentation is far more severe even for schizophrenia and all. But like in the US, like if you look at the white population, it presents as what we read depression presents as in the textbooks. So diversity tends to change the presentation of medical disorders. It's just so interesting. For example, psychiatry has this different branch itself, like it's called cultural psychiatry, and it's all related to like presentation of psychiatric disorders in different ethnic populations and how that affects the presentation. So that's really interesting, yes. So I wanted to experience that part of medicine too. Thirdly, like, you know, in the US, there's just so much research work going on, and medicine is being practiced at its cutting edge. And I want to practice medicine at its cutting edge, and I have a huge FOMO of the new guidelines and the advancements in medicine. And I think US will serve that purpose. And yep, that's why I wanted to go to the US. It was never, people think it's about the money or it's about the lifestyle. I'm gonna tell you, it was never about the money and the lifestyle. These are things that do matter, I guess, like, you know, money and the lifestyle, but it was never the deciding factor for me to choose the US over India. Somebody's asked, can an Indian IMG match into OBGYN? Yes, there are so many people who match into OBGYN, so many non-US IMGs do, and so many US IMGs do. So 100% possible. All you need are great scores. Number one, scores matter a lot. Secondly is research. If you can get 1 year of research experience and good LORs from US electives which are hands-on, and I think if you have this cocktail of these three things, you are gonna get into OBGYN, my friend. Don't worry about it. 100% possible. You can also look at the NRMP matching outcomes for non-US IMGs by visiting their website. I'll also mention the link below. 100% possible. I know so many people who match. So what are the chances of matching in IM without much research experience? You can 100% match into IM without research experience, considering it's an IMG friendly specialty and scores matter far more than research. So just get good scores. Research is not a necessity, but like I explained before, if you have research, that just makes you more attractive in the match. And knowing research helps you learn about the advancements in medicine, even if you don't want to do research later. Amounts of caffeine you take in a day. Well, like, who counts, right? That's how I would put it. I drink a lot of caffeine all the time because there's just so many benefits. There's so many antioxidants in coffee, and secondly, coffee suits me. I don't get any gastric issues with it. But what I drink is not milk-based coffee. I drink like the black coffee that people drink with just like coffee and water. And yep, like I drink a lot of coffee, and I don't really count. It's all based upon, like, if I feel sleepy, I'll just get another mug. I drink from about like 4 to 7 mugs of coffee. I know that's a lot, but I drink a lot of coffee, my friend. Who is your role model? So my role models are, like, number one, it would be Steve Jobs, and second would be Elon Musk. And the reason these people are my role models is these people really impacted and changed the whole world, even if people did not believe in them first. And their belief about, like, reaching their goal, like their faith about that and their faith about their products was so much that it really won. And like right now, if you are watching this on an iPhone, it's all thanks to Steve Jobs. And if you're driving a Tesla, or if you're reading about SpaceX, it's all thanks to Elon Musk. And I think that's what I want to take from these mentors of mine is, number one, have faith in myself and whatever I believe in, even if other people don't, even if other people don't believe in it. And secondly, work hard to reach it, right? And I think a combination of this, just having faith and working hard and smart, can take you anywhere you want, and nothing is impossible. You know, and there's a great quote that I go by that is written by somebody who was a role model to Steve Jobs, and it is this: the human mind is the spark of the almighty consciousness of God. I could show you that whatever your powerful mind believes very intensely would immediately come to pass. What that means is, if you have faith, it will happen. So there's levels of belief. There's first of all hope, then there's faith, and the last one is knowing that it will happen. So I think having that amount of faith in myself, like knowing it, that it will happen, is something I learned from that quote. Yep. Describe your parents. Well, I would say, like, if I were to describe my parents, these people are like, I would just say they are not exactly my parents. They're just like my best friends, and I can share anything and everything with them, and they wouldn't judge me for it. And considering, like, they are very educated and they're from a medical background, they really understand me. And at no point in my life have they, like, isolated me, have they told me, like, you know, not supported me. And every single step of my life, no matter if it was right or wrong, they have been with me, and they have been like my biggest supporters, my biggest fans, my biggest cheerleaders, and my best friends. So that's how I would describe my parents. Like, I love you, mom and dad. Just know that no matter what. So how to match into a university program? So there's 3 types of programs: university, second is community-based, university affiliated, the third one is pure community. So the first one, university, is focused more on research, and it has good clinics, but there is a lot of research, right? And that's what's, like, also given a lot of emphasis on. The second one is community-based, university affiliated. Here, community like patient care is given more focused upon, than clinical patient care is given more focused upon than just research. There is research, but not a lot compared to university based. Last one is community, and these are all about like serving the community and clinical patient care, and they don't have a lot of emphasis on YouTube, like on research, like when you compare them to community-based, university-affiliated or university-based programs. So that's the difference. So if you want to match into a university-based program, you can go without research if you have high step scores, but again, having research makes them think that you're a better fit for them, because if you're doing research, if you know about research, they're like, we also do research, right? So this person would have more fun here, they would enjoy working on research. So if you want to get into a university based program, try to publish, try to learn about research even if you can't publish, and I think that's what can make you attractive in the match for university based programs, right? For community, research does not work that well, but it can. But yeah, so what keeps you motivated in this whole journey? And I think there's a really good quote that I like, and it's all about like this. It's all about like this distinction that, and it's all about like how success and failure work. And the quote goes like this: most people are seduced by success and they are broken by failure, and this fail to learn the lesson in each, right? And our life is not all about reaching success or going away from failure. It's about experiencing both. And it doesn't matter like if you're failing or if you're succeeding. What matters is how fast you're evolving, your rate of self-evolution. Because if you think about failure, what a failure basically is, it's a micro success, right? And if you can take it as a micro success, you will evolve much faster than a person who is just taking failure as a failure and just stopping and not improving. So life is all about improving in different aspects and improving the soul in any way you can, developing it into different fields. And I think that's what my life is about. It's not about success or failure, it's all about my rate of self-evolution, how fast I'm evolving. And I think that's what keeps me motivated, is I get to evolve.